Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are here taking a look at SB19 Story Episode 1, The Ultimate Sound Break. This is going to be Casual Chuck's turn in the hot seat because I was on the receiving end of a review by him on one of his live streams per y'all's request. And since you guys requested me to look at some of his stuff, we're here. So I am looking forward to taking a look at this and understanding more of a context of SB19, because normally with marathon groups, I do look at a guide. So I'm going to kind of equate this to that. So I'm really excited to dive in and look at more. I have been going through SB19's discography. I believe I'm caught up at this point. I just have a couple of dance practices with Solo Works, and then I'm all Gucci ready for their stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it.
When you hear the words pop,
Whoa. Freeze. Okay. It's only based on my personal research. I might miss some details. It's possible I have discrepancies, but I did my best to get as much accurate information as possible. Love it. It's true. I mean, anytime you're making any essay of any kind with something that's actively going on, especially like a group like them, the more interviews they do or the more information that they give out, the more refined you get to be with what you do too. So I get that. Yeah.
when you hear the words pop music and the best boy band, who comes to mind?
I think it depends on your generation,
What if I told
right?
you that the most overlooked boy group in our generation might be these guys?
Whoa, that's old footage. Now I can say that's old, isn't it?
In the last 6 years, these guys turned a small Korean entertainment company into a company that produced the greatest P-pop group ever.
Wow.
SB19. And you don't accomplish that without making...
Hold on, what does it say? Let's not pass P-pop as original, it's plagiarism. Don't accomplish without making a few mistakes. So I've heard that, not about P-pop, but more on K-pop. Or honestly, if you think about a lot of like the solo works of SB19, you can see their inspirations. I would say P-pop is inspired and references things like in the Western market scene or K-pop and those, because K-pop's also, you know, inspired or can partake in different parts of the scene of, you know, different industries. So I wouldn't go so far as to call something plagiarism. I think a lot of it comes down to intention. Now there's probably unintentional plagiarism that one can take ownership of, but I don't think an entire music entity as a whole is considered that. I think that can be a very broad, not very informed perspective. Personally, that's what a thing to say. Goodness.
You enemies.
Goodness.
Some of them coming from unexpected places.
Looking like
But behind the group
copycats.
are 5 driven men who are about to transform what was once a laughingstock genre in music into the fastest growing genre of the world.
Ever since we had this goal, and not just for us, but for the entire industry.
Feeling ko hindi pa natin nakukuha yung recognition na dapat para sa atin.
Between disbanding before they even debuted,
All hope is lost parang nung time na yun.
becoming industry outcasts and getting bashed by their own countrymen, this
grupo na hindi naman mangkataasan ng
I hope we get a group with noses that are not too pointy,
para talagang
so we can confidently say that they're...
original.
Oh, goodness. Now, here's something that I am not aware of really at all. I'm familiar with the K-pop industry of beauty standards, the Korean scene of it, as well as American beauty standards, right? It just kind of depends on where you're from. So I really don't know a lot about the Philippines in the cultural side, like the nuances of it. So maybe I'll learn something from watching this and maybe a couple other artists to kind of understand a little bit more. But I find this interesting.
the rise of SB19 may not be the greatest Filipino success story ever.
Maganda kasi yung revenge kasi talaga yung success na ipapakita mo sa mga...
Oh, success is the best
It certainly
revenge.
is the most inspiring one.
Okay. I would just like like to know, a minute 56 in, the amount of footage references that's a lot of work for 2 minutes, dude. Whoa. The amount of time having to make that's probably mad wild. 2020, 1997. Ooh, okay. Even finding reference material like this.
This is called Triple,
Called
a group
Triple.
of talented performers and comedians from Korea you've probably never heard of. They were formed back in 1994 when the word K-pop hasn't even been invented. In 2002, one of the members made the biggest mistake of his life, which will change the entire course of P-pop history.
The biggest mistake of his life?
That member was Yong Han. It all started when he left the trio in 2002 to become an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Cold Triple became Cold 2.
So it looks like he was with a couple other people who now do variety work based on how you cut it. So I could be wrong. Hold on. Is this the Wikipedia description? Consisting of Jung Chan-woo and Kim Tae-gyeon, formed in 94 as Cold Triple. He left the team, after which Chan-woo and Tae-gyeon renamed the team. The current name, their syndicated talk show, Cultural Show, airs SBS Power FM since 06. Okay,
Also,
okay.
their fans thought that Songhan's decision was a huge mistake
Thumbs
because
down.
the remaining members started racking up different awards in the entertainment industry.
I
If he
understand.
only stuck around, he would have gotten those awards too. But this man's decision was final. He used all of his savings to build an event organizing company called Show BT Entertainment. Today we know him as Tatang Robin. Fast
Ratang.
forward to
Tatang
2015.
Robin?
The fight of the century just happened.
Okay.
One Direction's Drag Me Down was all over the radio.
Oh, bye.
And Big Bang was the
Drag me.
biggest K-pop boy group.
Yeah.
P-pop has top one project. Chances are you have never heard of them. But somewhere in Makati, Philippines, an audition was held. Tatang Robin was looking for young talents who would be part of the package of their service as an event organizers. Talents who can perform on their own but can also serve as backup dancers and singers to their main performers. One of the main attractions of the set audition was if you're good enough, you might just debut as a member of Show BT's first ever P-pop group to undergo a Korean-style training. Filipinos don't get opportunities like that so often.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is if you've been looking at the K-pop industry right now, I mean, you have a lot of groups that are trying to be a global group, right? But they're all, the common denominators, they all train under the K-pop training style is what I've been picking up on. I could be inaccurate with that, but it's interesting how we are introducing that here, where I do know that is something that XG had gotten a lot of flack over. XG is a group that it's all Japanese members run by Simon Jacobs, and they trained in a Korean format, but they promote all their songs are in English. So that's what they strive. They try not to be under a particular label of pop. So they got a lot of flack from the K-pop scene, from a lot of people because of being vocal in that way. So I find that I'm very curious if, you know, I'm assuming SB19 is considered P-pop, but they went under a K-pop training style, but they're promoting under P-pop, which I'm assuming is it's different in the reception, maybe, compared to other groups who are, you know, using the structure for one thing, but they're promoting in a different context. I don't know. It's very interesting.
So hundreds of talents applied, but only 13 made it as trainees. They were initially called the Show BT Musical Gala Team, but then later dubbed as Nara, which in Korean means country, and also happens to be the national tree of the Philippines.
Oh!
If you're a fan who is deep into the P-pop scene, you would recognize some
Not
of
at
the
all.
future P-pop stars, but one of the most notable ones is this guy.
Hey, we
On
know
the first
him.
day of training, one guy stood out because he was just alone standing awkwardly in the corner.
So una, ang weird niya kung nagsasalita mag-isa.
He was facing the wall and making hand gestures as if he was rapping in front of him.
Nakatayo siya sa gilid, yung lang gagawin. Sabi ko, ano ginagawa? Nagre-recall ba ka sa gilid?
That guy was John Paolo. He always wanted to be a performer, As a young dreamer, he joined several competitions as a soloist and also as a member of the K-pop dance cover group called PHP. In training, he was the guy who shows up early and leaves late despite juggling a full-time job as a data analyst to help provide for his family. He was selected due to his undeniable diligence and leadership qualities. He is known to have critically acclaimed songwriting ability.
Well,
Some of
that's
my
a
sources
good
even
skill.
said that he had already written dozens of songs at this time. He's also a badass rapper and was often called a genius, but consistently denied it because he claimed to be just a hard worker. This made him the destined leader of the group. He was known as Sejin at the time, but later would be known as Pablo.
Pablo.
30 trainees are a lot of trainees.
True.
It would take a very observant person with an eye for talent to notice Pablo in that corner.
Hey, did STELL go? Was he a judge on The Voice? Is I know The Voice is in different countries. I didn't know the Philippines. Well, I don't know much about the Philippines music scene, which is why I find this very fun because I get to learn new things. But what was it? Yeah, it gave the impression that STELL was a little button pusher,
So who was
mentor.
that observant person with an eye for talent?
I don't know. Well,
He was
you're
also
showing
a trainee.
STELL, so maybe
Sylvester Ajero.
STELL
He
Vester.
was only
What
kid
a
when he started
name! I
competing
love
as a
it.
performer.
I mean,
As a
I looked all
dancer,
this
he
up, and
racked
it's just so
up
fun.
Win after win on a national level with his school crew and became their official choreographer, teaching crewmates 2 to 3 years older than him. He later joined a dance crew called Seon and went on to win international titles.
Oh, going back to see what photos.
He later joined a dance crew called Seon and went
What is this? Okay. I'm trying to see if I've ever seen these before.
on to win international titles.
That's a lot of
Still
money.
obviously worked so hard. Amidst his studies and competitions, he also worked part-time as a McDonald's service crew and teaching dance to kids with special needs. There was a point that he worked too hard that he wound up in the hospital. His poor health caused him to lose his earnings and nearly his life.
Oh man.
Fortunately, he was able to recover.
So you
This
got
made him
so
the
you
obvious
overworked?
choice to become the choreographer of the group. But little did they know that dancing wasn't his only talent. As a kid, he joined the school choir to become the only male soprano and only improved as he gotten older. He easily became the main heavenly voice of the group because his vocals were just out of this world.
He does a
Like
good
Pablo,
job.
STELL was very friendly to everyone. In fact, one of his closest friends also auditioned and made it as a trainee. This friend is nothing to be trifled with because having the worst upbringing among the others made him the strongest when it comes down to pure guts and determination. Josh Colin Santos. He left home at the age of 16 and it was his decision. From growing up in a toxic environment to being physically abused as a kid by their nanny. I'm talking about getting poured candle wax all over their body.
That's right,
At an
because
early age, he
I saw in
experienced
his
what it
music
felt
videos, you
like
guys
to be a
talked
member of
about
a
it.
middle-class family that went rock bottom in just a matter of months. They get evicted from medium-sized apartments to increasingly smaller rooms. It came to a point where
That's
his family
stressful.
had nothing to eat with rice but ketchup and salt. They had no permanent address. Because of that, Josh and his sister dropped out of school multiple times, so they got bullied at school for being repeaters. Sometimes he would even get into fistfights for defending her. Josh had enough of this, so he decided to leave to become independent and started working as an internet cafe attendant. Using his own income, he took the alternative learning system to attain his high school degree. He initially had no background in performing. Not until he found STELL performing with his dance group called Seon. Josh became an instant fan, and when they connected,
Hold on. Okay, cool.
STELL became his mentor.
BTS! 반찬소년단! Hey, a side note. I used to own this, and I bet they got it in reference to No More Dream by Remosa! Sorry, anyway, it's
Which
fun.
led to them becoming
I wonder if they were
members, and
doing
they went
No
on
More
to
Dream,
win
that cover
numerous
We Are
K-pop
Bulletproof.
dance cover competitions all over Asia. They
Cool.
even met BTS during one of their winning runs in Korea. So from champions to trainees. What else is in store for them?
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to find out. Here we go.
became all about performing in small events and training.
This reminds me of it reminds me of show choir. If you guys know what that is in America, I know we have it here, where it's people who are in choir who dance, and it's a whole little niche, and you have platforms and that kind of stuff. That's what that reminded me of.
One mentor when we were training. Tapos, more on personality development siya. Tapos, presenting ourselves on stage.
Yeah, that
no
matters.
idea that the Korean style training they went through
It's far from what they've been doing sa Korea.
was nothing but a mere marketing strategy.
Oh,
Skill-wise, parang we were left on our own.
oh, that sucks. Here's something I want to touch on with this. You don't truly realize an environment that it is until you're low-key out of it. So that's something where it's a lot of them wouldn't know what the Korean style is unless they experienced it, and most haven't. So they wouldn't know that that's not how it is until, like I said, they're kind of past it or they hear from others about that. So that really sucks.
They were left alone to fend for themselves, sharing knowledge to improve each other with the hope of making the cut. Some sources told me that Pablo had to record some of their vocal sessions to effectively coach his co-trainees. All of that without salary.
Yeah.
This went on for roughly a couple of years, and I don't know about you guys, but this for me sounded kind of brutal.
Yeah.
It's not easy to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again without any form of guidance.
Yeah, that. And then the opposite can be true where the guidance is very toxic, right? So there's like negligence, and then there's uninformed consent where you end up exploiting. It's different form of exploiting, right? So it's a tricky balance that not many companies get right, unfortunately.
They were also kept in the dark about their debut date.
That also
so
sucks.
frustration started brewing until it reached the point when it only took one trigger to call it quits.
And what would that
On
be?
one seemingly normal training day, all trainees were already in the studio, except for Josh. On the same morning, the train broke down.
Nasira yung MRT during that time. Nasira yung MRT.
Sinuspindi ang operasyon ng MRT dahil sa power outage.
It wasn't really an accident, but this would still worry anyone, especially the trainees, because it's highly unusual for Josh to miss training. Later that morning, Josh arrived. His co-trainees felt relieved because Josh turned out to be safe. You would think that their company would react the same way, right? Wrong. They decided to terminate his training.
Nalate ako, tapos tinanggal ako.
That was the trigger.
Doon tinanggal po ako, nag-quit din yung mga grupo ko. Nag-quit din sila kasi parang naging trigger na point na kung tatanggalin mo si Josh,
Umalis kami na sa grupo.
ganun mo lang kadali itapon yung lahat ng efforts and passion.
And that's also too, that's what happens whenever, if you're somebody who, if you leave people to their own devices, they create their own hierarchy. So Josh became an irreplaceable element within the space. You take out the person that's helped me cope with this environment to feel guided in an unguidable place, I'm out. Like, that's what probably happened. No, that sounds very, specific, but that could be a very, very real hypothesis that he made himself an indispensable part of the place just by probably his character, or how he himself went in survival mode, and that's how he was able to do that. Like, everybody's in, not fight or flight, but they're in a survival mode. How can I debut, but I'm not given any information? Let's do the best we can, and you band together. And so there's going to be a pack there that no one else is going to understand, especially the ones who got them there, right? So that's interesting. We're the ones who hire them into the training.
Choices, to keep all trainees or to keep no trainees. The company chose the latter. Everyone left except for STELL.
Whoa!
Nag-iwan ko na talaga sa training room. Tapos talagang down na down lahat.
Si STELL STELL natira kasi doon during that time.
STELL set aside all his frustration and remained focused on his goal, while Pablo was devastated.
Right.
Hope is lost parang nung time na yun.
In Josh's case, we can only imagine the pain he must have felt to have been booted out of his dreams.
Just because of something he
Days
couldn't
passed.
control.
Everyone's still feeling down about that incident. Then
Right.
Pablo's phone receives a message.
Brother, balik ka na, brother.
It was Josh. Out of all the trainees, the guy that got sent packing was the same guy who actively convinced everyone to continue chasing their dreams. Perhaps this was the sheer guts and determination from his life experiences in full display. Pablo hurried back to the studio to find STELL alone. But not for long. Josh came back next and took the initiative to convince the company to have them back.
Pumunta na po ako doon at syempre kung kinakailangan na magpakiusap.
So back to training, they went.
Hindi ka naman magkahiwala ng grupo, pero bumalik sila kasi hindi nila kami iwan.
There was only 3 of them for a while. Then a few other trainees started coming back. So Show BT put together a talent workshop to get more talents to keep the business going. This was batch 1. This was batch 2.
Target, lock.
Justin did yours. He got scouted right away because he was a very good-looking guy and already was a decent singer and dancer. When he joined, he immediately saw a familiar face in Josh.
You look familiar. As do you.
Apparently, Josh told Justin about the workshop because the two already had a stint performing together in
Ah.
a dance cover group called Zero to Hero.
Zero to Hero.
So Justin as well wasn't new in the world of performing. He auditioned to be a part of the televised Pinoy boy band Superstar, but he didn't even make it to the live auditions. Perhaps
Ah.
it was fate. That group is nowhere to be found today. Justin obviously deserved better. He went on to finish his college degree in multimedia arts while training, which earned him a filmmaking skill that would prove very crucial to their success in the future. With Justin on board, this completed their prototype boy group. It's
Paradox.
composed of Justin, Pablo, STELL, Josh, Zeno, Kurt, and JP. They did multiple test runs leading up to their entry to Pinoy K-pop Star 2017. They performed B-Day by Icon in an epic fashion, but they didn't win. At this point, Show BT seemed to have hit a roadblock. The group felt like something was missing. I don't exactly know what happened to Zeno, Kurt, and JP. They either quit or Show BT felt the need to let go of them and get someone who could take this already great group of guys and push them to achieve the next level. The extraordinary level. This year's in the making project of Show BT needed to reach its peak. So they started the online auditions. When Josh heard about it, he was like, I know a guy.
It's funny. It's funny how we're using that video of Josh with this bob.
The guy he was talking about was a pain in his butt because their groups have clashed multiple times in their early dance competitions and their battles were always neck and neck. That guy's name was Felix John Suson. He was such a specimen. He was so naturally gifted that excelling in sports looked like a walk in the park for him. He grew up in the church under the care of his grandparents. He was an artistic kid, so he was active as an editorial cartoonist in school. Nobody taught him how to play musical instruments. He taught himself by just listening to the music, so he ended up becoming a southpaw guitarist, but he later then fixed it as he learned more. He was
Cool.
also a gifted singer as a kid. Every time there was a family gathering, he was always forced to sing karaoke by his relatives. But when he hit puberty, he lost confidence in his voice because he could no longer hit high notes. But his confidence came back after being mentored by Pablo, who taught him how to harness his unique low voice that seemingly sounds like it came from the underworld. When it comes to dance, he didn't know he could do it until he was forced to in order to get good grades during their school intramurals. After discovering dance, he transformed from a guy who didn't know it to someone who can fly. Because of his raw talent, he ended up teaching dance to the entire school and continued on to join the dance group called Amigo 7, a would-be rival of Josh and STELL's crew, Yong. It quickly became a reverse if you can't beat them, then join them kind of deal. So Josh recruited Ken. But there was a problem. He was hundreds of islands away and didn't have the money. What did Josh do? He shelled out for his plane ticket. With nothing else to lose, Philip went and left his previous life in the countryside. He then trained with the boys and officially debuted with them as Ken, the main dancer, the bass vocalist, and the lead rapper of the group. One thing to note is that they were an unlikely bunch because they wouldn't have met each other if Tatang Robin stayed with his already successful group in Korea.
True.
Justin didn't make it in his first audition, so he almost didn't try again until Josh told him to do so. And Ken wouldn't even have the opportunity to join if the Show BT trainees didn't come back after that quitting incident. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the butterfly effect. When a small
It
and seemingly
is.
insignificant occurrence has a rippling effect through time, leading to a consequential event sometime long after the initial event. Or as Google would put it, the phenomenon whereby a minute localized change in a complex system can have large effects elsewhere. Tatang Robin's so-called mistake back in 2002 led to forming the future PPOP Kings. In 2018, SB19 was formed. The name of the group was carefully picked. The number 19 is the sum of Korea and the Philippines country code digits.
Ah,
82 plus
okay.
63. So 8 plus 2 plus 6 plus 3 is 19. If you subtract both numbers, you also get the same result.
Oh, that's cool.
SB doesn't only mean Show BT. It is also about their ultimate goal for Pinoy sound to break into the music industry, which is fearlessly represented by this phrase: Soundbreak.
Hey, I love that. Yeah, I agree with you, Chuck. We don't earn anything from any kind of material when it's copyrighted. This was so interesting. It makes me curious about learning more, right? So I don't know the best way to watch this because this came out 8 months ago, right? And I know, Chuck, you know this. And then some of your older stuff came out like 3 years ago. So I don't know if you would rather me wait until you have other things come up. I'm not sure, but in a nutshell, I think you did a great job, especially you did your best with trying. Like, I love that. That's so fun. With trying to get as accurate of information as possible, and you also showed your passion too. As somebody I would be considered an outsider looking in, but I've spent time looking at the group from a dance context. I do feel that the butterfly effect is very real, because I think a reason why for myself, because I can use myself as an example, the reason why I'm able to do what I do and the way that I'm able to do it is because of, certain things happen in certain times where if they happen at a different time, it would have led to a completely different effect. So an example would be, a lot of people joined YouTube in the height of the pandemic, and that's where a lot of people were able to get a lot of numbers in. I didn't join until 2023, which is considered late. But I'm very thankful I didn't start until 2023 specifically, because I was in a very different time of my life any year prior, both relationally and with information and knowledge. So I also have there was a certain degree of pride that needed to be checked in the early 2020s for myself as well. And really having to approach things with humility and not with, I know what I'm talking about, in the way where it's I'm not open-minded to hearing other perspectives, right? Because I'm a human at the end of the day, just like SB19. It sounds like they were teenagers going through the thick of it, being manipulated or being gaslit, but also when you're left to your own devices like that, that can cause a toxic environment in a lot of ways too. That was not sunshine and daisies whatsoever, for the fact that it caused one person, Josh, leaving to just cripple all of that. The fact that Josh was in that position, it's not inherently like a good or a bad thing. It's just a circumstance, right? Like, at the end of the day, it shows all of us an observation how influential Josh is, which makes it very interesting. What character traits does he possess in his day-to-day that inherent people to want to be influenced by him in that way. It just makes me curious, right? And then with Pablo, with his ability to be, you know, somebody that is a helping hand, you know, and I do appreciate too with the fact that Josh was able to, you know, provide income for Ken to come over and try it out. Like, I think there's a lot of trust that we're noticing here too with each other, which I found so interesting. And I love that K-pop cover teams was kind of that common denominator with a lot of them as to how they were able to be connected, right? That's so fascinating. It absolutely is. It just makes me even more curious about what are things that are really popular in the Philippines that maybe more niche here in America or vice versa, right? Wow, I learned a lot. This was really cool, and it makes me curious, right? And I'm all up to date, with the exception of a couple, you know, solo work dance practices. But with the group, I mean, I've been able to see all their title stuff, which has been really cool, and it's all on YouTube or for free on Patreon if you guys are curious. But yeah, Chuck, thank you for this, and I'm excited to hear from you about some of my questions, and also fans who maybe he's answered these questions. If you want to comment below, I would appreciate that as well. Well, you guys know me, I know you. I am Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.